Hello and welcome to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the week's video game news and stories right here for your viewing or listening pleasure on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV or up in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. I did the whole preference of choice thing that we talked about.
Yeah,
was that when we were out that we were talking about that before?
No, it was on Thursday's live stream. We said for years I've been saying podcast preference of choice, which makes no grammatical sense whatsoever, but we'll correct it, or we'll try and correct it.
Yeah. And the voice you just heard is none other than Mr. Chris. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hey everyone, hey listeners, hope you're all good and gaming out there.
Yeah. Well, we've got a great show lined up for you this week where we'll be discussing the Nintendo Direct, the PlayStation State of Play, both happening on the same day, Embracer selling Gearbox, and review rounds up for the likes of The Crew, Liza P, and Mortal Kombat 1. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all our great content here at GamerGuildTV, such as Chris starting 007 Bloodstone.
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
Well, we've been saying for some time the benefit of changing to like an all-embodying YouTube channel was the fact that we could cover everything, and our history goes back absolutely years, like back to NES and Sega Mega Drive days and the original Game Boy. So having the opportunity to play it on the channel for quite some time is something I've wanted to do a little bit more retro, because I think our audience, our viewers and listeners out there, like that tends to be where they all started off as well. Our age demographic according to YouTube is definitely catering more towards the older rather than the younger.
It skews older than us.
No offence, folks, no offence. But in terms of, the games, there's so many good games. And whenever we hear stories about, like, Project 007 or the Indiana Jones game, my brain goes, God, I remember playing those games as a kid. Like, the original, like, the classic ones. Like, that were usually movie tie-ins, but were quite good. So I go through, like, these spurts of buying games to eventually play on the channel. So you've got some crackers lined up, folks. I've bought Indiana Jones games for PS2, Staff of Kings, I've got James Bond Bloodstone, I've got the Wolverine game for PS3, which is apparently fantastic, in line for when Insomniac's Wolverine comes out. So thinking, see what I'm thinking there? Like, we have like a little bit of a retro look back ahead of something. So with Project 007, I kind of wanted, I said on the stream I did on Thursday, I did part one, about 2 hours of it, that but with no Uncharted coming out and no new Tomb Raider game coming out, I've kind of been missing that third-person shooter-cover action-adventure game. And here we are, James Bond, 007 Bloodstone, with Daniel Craig's likeness and voice, and Dame Judi Dench's likeness and voice, with a mission, with a soundtrack by none other than Joss Stone. And it's a Uncharted-esque shooter-cover mechanic that came out, ironically, 2 years after the original Uncharted game. So it takes a couple of ideas. Some of the actual settings are very Uncharted 1, which is interesting. Published by Activision, back in the day when they had the Bond license. And you know what? 2 hours in, I'm having a thoroughly good time. And the game holds up for PlayStation 3. It's 13 years old this year. Surprisingly well. Water look good. Fighting mechanics are good. The visuals for the kind of voice animation and everything, not bad. And I think we've said time and time again on this channel before, older games, they kind of hit a tipping point. I think probably the back end of the PS3 era, Xbox 360, where like they're aging quite well. We've said many times the Arkham series is fantastic, and the Arkham Asylum's a similar age. So I think, I'll be playing the rest of it. Looking forward to more of it, and can't wait for Project 007 when IO Interactive finally tells more. Yeah,
I do agree that during the PS3 era, that era of gaming, games got to a point where the sensibilities around modern gaming kind of really settled in, and graphics had hit a point where they're not the most beautiful things to look back at ever, but it's not distractingly bad. Like, it's not count the pixels or
blockhead.
It's not like count the polygons with like someone's like a photo stretched over like the N64 like James Bond game. Ooh. Which is like, he's 4 polygons, let's just stretch a photo around it.
I mean, we had a laugh playing GoldenEye earlier this year, right, when it literally is just an image of Pierce Brosnan or Sean Bean, and they just stretch it over essentially a square block, and you look and go, oh dear, they couldn't have done any more with the power that they had at the time. As Tony Stark would say, they are limited to the tools of the time.
Yeah, that was Howard Stark.
Yeah, had a great time. Was it Howard Stark?
He said it too, Tony, via video, didn't he?
Oh, of course. Yeah. But yeah, and I actually, funny we should mention that, I actually have the Iron Man game for PS3, also still in plastic seal wrap, ready to go. And the Thor game, just because that's the kind of person I make investments in old technology, hoping to pay it off on the channel many years later.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, keep tuned. Watch out for the part 2. The game's not that long, it's only 6 hours, so I'm guessing it's going to be like a 3-part stream series. I'll get to it when I can.
Yeah. And talking about getting to it, we also have probably this week, I think it's going to probably be Liza P, but it's not set in stone yet, so bear with us on that. All our socials are in the description below, including our new merch store where you can get a mug such as this one.
Oh, yeah. Been treating ourselves, have we?
We have paid for my own money, not company money as well.
Let me see it close to the camera. Let's get a good look at that mug.
I've got the black.
I'm sorry about your face, but
yeah.
Well, that logo does look good on that white on black.
Yeah, it arrived yesterday, and scientifically proven to make your coffee taste 20% better.
Oh, that's thanks.
I've only got
you.
one data point because this is literally the only cup of coffee I've had out of it. But
wonderful. Thanks to our guild heroes out there. You were asking for a merch store for many, many years, and we finally got it. And remember, there's some great stuff on there. I keep looking back, and I'm tempted because we've bought things for ourselves in the past, like a T-shirt and stuff to wear on the show. But I've never had the option of like mouse mats, bags, caps. There's just so much more variety out there. There's some pencil cases and stuff like that. I have a sticker on myself. Oh, is that what was on? Is that what's on your Xbox?
Yeah, it's on my Xbox. It's like viewers can't see it, but I have a sticker of myself on my Xbox.
Yeah.
A bit of vanity for you there.
Well,
it looks pretty cool. I like it.
The stickers are cool.
Yeah,
the stickers are cool.
I've got a GamerGuild sticker as well, which I've put on my guitar, one of my guitars.
You mean you haven't put it on a random lamppost?
No, it's on one of my guitars, and I had to peel off the Helix Plays game one that I had on there before.
Oh, betrayal.
Betraying myself with myself.
Yeah, betraying yourself, yeah.
I updated the sticker, that's what I basically did there.
Yeah, okay, software upgrade.
But you know what, Chris? I think we should get into it. So would you like to introduce us to the
graciously gathered Gamer Guild Gazette, a.k.a. The News.
The News. And as always, our news is brought to you by our guild heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p over on YouTube. And Chris, first story of the week. We had a Nintendo Direct announced, and then Sony went, hold my beer, and went, here's a State of Play on the same day. Basically shadow dropped the State of Play. So
yeah, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Your overall impressions of the State of Play?
You know what? When we watched it, it was only about half an hour or so long, and when we watched it, I felt like a bit underwhelmed. Not that I had much expectation going into it, but I think we wrapped up, and it felt like we got updates on more of what we already knew. So there was some Helldivers, Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, Avatar, and it was... Again, I didn't not enjoy it, but then I ended up sitting back thinking, well, there was nothing really new there. But then, upon reflection, now I've had a chance to digest it by a couple of days. Actually, some of the dates we got for big games, a bit more insight. This is kind of maybe what a State of Play should be. But then I put this back onto Sony and say it's their own fault because the way they've marketed their State of Plays and their showcases in the past,
it's the inconsistency.
They've kind of muddied the cadence of what to expect out of it. So in my mind, I thought it was going to end with like something quite relevant, and it didn't, which I think irked me at the time. But yeah, upon reflection, I'm like, if this is what every State of Play is like, and the showcases, which hopefully we'll get more regular, because remember we've only had 2 so far. One was great, one was okay. And if we have another one by the end of the year, then that's when maybe the hype cycle can build. But overall, I think solid 7 out of 10 for this one. Didn't blow me away, didn't disappoint, but just, but we did get some key information out of it, which we're going to go into.
I think this was absolutely fine as a State of Play in isolation. I do agree with you that the waters are muddied in terms of what they are. Sometimes they're bigger, sometimes they're smaller, sometimes they hype them up, sometimes they really try to not hype them up. The fact that we only found out about it basically the day of, and it was focused mainly on the VR indies and third party stuff.
Uh-huh.
I think it kind of delivered on the promising because there was no hype cycle around it. You're going in, okay, we know it's going to be mainly VR indies and third party, so I'm not expecting any major announcements here. So I think it was absolutely fine. And sometimes I think you do just need a platform to talk about this stuff. Where I think, for me, they just need to clear what a State of Play and what Showcase is. Showcase for me should be you big, we're going in hard, we're going to go talk about a couple of big games, it's going to be an hour-long presentation. I think State of Play should be this stuff, and maybe they just need like a third branch where it's going to be like, you know how Nintendo sometimes have a direct on one game.
Yeah,
that kind of more deep dive. Yeah,
they've done it in the past with like Ghost of Tsushima and God of War, where they have that dedicated State of Play. But I think you're right. If it's going to be a dedicated live stream, it needs to be called something different from a State of Play, because it's not a State of Play. It's a deep dive into one particular game. So yeah, maybe a bit of rebranding and tweaking going on. Because I do like to see behind the scenes, but like you said, sometimes when they give you like a developer interview in the middle of a showcase, it kind of is like, this doesn't feel like the right fit for it. But a dedicated showcase for developer interviews and gameplay would be more fitting of that, and you could go into expecting to learn more about the game. So yeah, I think spreading them in, similar in a way to VR, there was some VR stuff shown off in this, which, why doesn't that have its own dedicated thing? Because we actually struggled, didn't we, halfway through? They showed some VR games, and then they pivoted to show Avatar Frontiers of Pandora.
You struggled.
I struggled massively, yeah, which is first and foremost a first-person game. And because it was a VR game and straight into Avatar, I just naturally presumed it was another VR game that was showing off until we got to the very end, and it was like, oh, actually, wait, is this just Avatar Frontiers of Pandora? That was announced many years ago, and it was. So, yeah, a little bit of tweaking here and there, but like we said, it's not terrible, but we did get some good updates and news out of it.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora trailer, I don't think it really moved the needle at all, this trailer. I think we just saw more of what we've already seen, really.
It looked gorgeous. We've not really seen much gameplay elements of it so far, so to actually see maybe the world being lived in, it very much does feel like Far Cry in Pandora, which I think is a good thing, but I'm just waiting to see what the Avatar like gauge levels of hype are, because the movie did incredibly well, and it's like, but do those people translate over to a video game? Like, I'm excited for it. If I've cleared my schedule come Christmas, I'll be playing this.
I stand by. I think Avatar suits gaming more than movies.
Yeah.
I think the IP is better suited to that interactive platform, because the world is such a deep, rich world, absolutely stunning, lots of different like environments. You do want to just explore it. And the movies are always, they're decent. I enjoyed Way of Water. I enjoyed the first Avatar film. I've never watched Last Airbender, completely different franchise. So, but it's like, I always find the movies quite just enjoyable, but okay. And I think they've relied quite a lot on the spectacle of it rather than like the narrative, which that spectacle I actually do think lands a bit better in gaming, especially if
I completely agree.
Yeah, especially
Factions,
I think like
weapons.
something like Starfield. If this was more Starfield and less Far Cry, so it's more of a sandboxy style game. Imagine just getting lost in this world. It'd be brilliant.
I'm looking forward to it. And again, I'm a big Ubisoft fan, so if they do the usual stuff, it's massive as well, which we know they're great at making the open world games like feel real and lived in. And it's something new. It's something new and fresh we've not had for a while. And yeah, December 7th, not too far away. It's locked in. It is a shame it doesn't time with the movie, because that was the original plan. This game takes place between the first and the second movie, so I feel like it would have been sandwiched in there.
I don't think that's a shame at all. I think it's better standing on its own legs.
I mean, 6 and 2 3s with what might be like maybe the marketing. I was thinking more having a movie come out and the game side by side. It's got that natural tie-in. But we'll have to see. Great, but we should point out as well, coming to Amazon Luna, just like the Crew is. So Luna fans actually eating well, thanks to of course the continued cloud support of Ubisoft. Yeah, where would they be without them?
I think, to be honest, my biggest concern over this game is actually Ubisoft.
It's single player, and they usually nail those. It's when they try and branch out into multiplayer, connected, open world games as a service, they screw up royally. Even
single player games, I think they've always been happy for a game to sit at around about an 8, as long as it sells well. And we're currently in a year where there's 9s and 10s dropping out left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a really good game, but will it be good enough to actually draw me in? Well, it won't be. I can tell you now, it won't be this year, but maybe next year.
It might get me.
Well, it's the 7th of December. Yeah, I've just got enough to play already this year. Let's talk about Spider-Man. Talk about stuff we've got to play this year. New Spider-Man trailer?
Spider-Man. Yeah, again, one of them in the moment, I just thought it's just more Spider-Man. Yeah. But then upon breakdown, it's just like, starting to get me hyped. Of course, the influencer reviews and stuff and early hands-on previews have came out, so I've listened to a few like podcasts and stuff since, basically going a bit more in-depth in it. So They revealed that the map size it now includes Brooklyn Queens, so the map's almost double the size. They talk through some more of the fight mechanics and stuff. You can switch between Miles and Peter outside of main missions seamlessly and just pick up with them elsewhere in the world. The wingsuit gameplay looks epic. The game looks so polished and gorgeous, and it's just like, yeah, watching the trailer back and like listening to more people talk about it, I can't wait for this game, Richie. It's like just over a month away.
Spider-Man was one of them where I think it needed to be here, but I also didn't need to see anything more that I haven't seen. I'm already sold, but we are in that era where they do need... Anytime PlayStation stand up and talk about something, Spider-Man needs to be there because it is their big title that's about to come. So it's like... it just needs to be here. Its absence would be more notable if it wasn't at the state of play. It's like, why isn't Spider-Man there? Is it going to get delayed? And them sort of conversations start... The fact that it's here, we saw a bit more of everything we've seen. Yeah. Looks
great. Looks fantastic.
Yeah. And you know what else looks fantastic, Chris? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We finally got
Resident Final Fantasy.
I was looking at I had Resident Evil on screen as well. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We'll talk about Resident Evil after this, actually. I think this game just looks amazing. Like, I need it. It's February 29th.
This one's for you.
This is the day purchase for me.
Have you seen, since we watched the live stream, they've since confirmed the game's probably looking to be about 100 hours worth of content? I know I asked you how long to expect out of a part 2 of a 3-part of a one game spread out. What that would look like? And you said they took the first game for remake and stretched it out to a lot longer.
And did it well. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like... It didn't feel like it's a game that's just been stretched out. The game plays really well. It doesn't feel like anything's filler. So
stretched out, it's on 2 discs, Richie, which they keep driving home this really odd selling point that it's on 2 discs.
You know, I think that's just a nod to the original fans, where I think Final Fantasy VII might have been on 4 discs, the original or something. So I think that's all we're doing. It's a bit tongue in cheek, a nod to the original fans. But yeah,
it's on the way. Obviously not. I don't know if it's
visually so much better than the last one, and the last one didn't look bad either.
Yeah, it's not got me yet. It's not got me yet. Of course, it's a bit of an odd one because now I've finished and got the platinum totally in love with 16. Then look at this and there's segues.
7 is on PlayStation Plus.
I know I own it.
So
it's integrate, I think, but it's like there's soldiers and then there's big ridiculous swords, like way too big ridiculous swords.
Yeah,
and like dog creatures. And I feel like 16 was a bit more grounded in that kind of fantasy, but not this, which seems to be like fantasy. Like I think at one point they're talking to a cat person.
Yeah,
and I know I've just killed loads of big monsters and icons in 16, but there's a weird detachment which I'm not quite getting yet. But that's, I guess, the quirkiness of this series, because it could just be anything and everything.
It was the 90s.
Yeah,
it was a different time. A Japanese game from the 90s, yeah. And there's stuff like Kate Sif, the big cat person. I think that is less jarring when you're playing in more pixelated PS1 graphics than it is.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not familiar with the series, it's like, yeah.
Well, yeah, it goes from serious scientists talking to people in robes about taking over the world and stuff, and then it cuts to a tiger person fighting a giant snowman while people are going around on segways. It just makes me think, what the hell is this?
In fact, they know who the audience is. Their audience is people who played Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, I mean, they confirmed this week.
Yeah,
it sold 7 million copies, the remake, so it's obviously doing numbers.
So, I mean, that's pretty much... If this game's unlikely to sell 7 million, because who's jumping into the second part of a trilogy?
The first one.
Yeah, but that's basically probably realistically, if you're looking at your sales figures, that's your cap.
Yeah, true.
Because that's if you convert all them 7 million, that's 100% conversion rate to bring on to your sequel, and it's not a sequel as in this is the next game in the series. This is the next chapter of the same story. So I'd probably expect the sales figures. I don't know how Square Enix look at this because they're sometimes a bit weird with this stuff. But I'd probably be going 5 million to fantastic. 5 million first year would be absolutely phenomenal for this.
Absolutely. But it is part 2 of 3.
Resident Evil, Chris. This time actually talking about Resident Evil.
Yeah, for RE4 remake, getting some DLC. It was in the original game. I think we were a bit confused as if it was like brand new or it was like new content. But yeah, the Separate Ways add-on coming September the 21st, along with an update to the Mercenaries mode, which is not to be confused with RE-verse, Richie, which we did. Yeah, also coming to VR, we should point out as well. So playable Ada Wong and Albert Wesker with VR2 support, but again, Resident Evil 4 Remake, which only came out this year. It feels like so long ago when that actually launched. And I know someone, I think Sarge was asking in our chat on my James Bond live stream what our kind of Halloween plans are this year, and we haven't locked them in yet, but we know we want to play something spooky, so maybe Resident Evil, we go back to that but we shall see. But game looks gorgeous, game looks great. If we had Rob on the show this week, which we've not acknowledged, Rob not been here yet,
yeah, true.
He'd probably go flip out for this one, so...
Yeah,
not long to wait.
Good.
September 21st. That's next week.
Let's move on. DLC for Tales of Arise. I really enjoyed Tales of Arise myself. I was a bit disappointed that this is DLC and not a Tales of Arise 2. Right? Yeah, it's been way over a year since I played Tales of Arise. So it'd be weird to go back. You know when you haven't played a game in a while and you go back to your character, but then you really leveled up, and then the muscle memory's no longer there for how to play the game. Yeah. That's why I don't really get into DLC. I prefer DLC when it's like a new character, like with Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. The Yuffie DLC is right. Okay, you're going to tell it he's a new story set in Midgard, set in some familiar locations, but you're going to play as a new character.
Yeah.
So you're starting off at level 1.
The best DLCs are the ones that are standalone, because the story has to be complete in one small thing. Like the Spider-Man DLC was okay. The Ghost of Tsushima DLC was okay. When I think of The Last of Us Left Behind, which was its own contained story with new characters
that expanded on the plot, but you're playing as Ellie rather than as Joel, so it's a new character effectively.
Yeah, there's total different elements. So I think like when they're standalone products, they work. When they're just kind of add-ons, I think there's a very time sensitive thing, and I think like what you're saying there with Tales of Arise, it almost feels like the game sold well, and then they decided to do the DLC rather than it was always part of the plans, because like you said, it's so far beyond release date, it's maybe missed the mark a little bit now. Yeah,
if I was currently playing Tales of Arise, this would be interesting, exciting news, because I really enjoyed my time with the game. I got the platinum. Terrible fishing mechanic, but all fishing mechanics in games are terrible. Yeah, but I think it's just too far removed for me to be interested to go. If this was a Tales of Arise 2... I would definitely be interested, because as I said, I really enjoyed the first game. Talking about 2, Helldivers 2.
Yeah, Helldivers, looking forward to this one. We got a date for it. It has been delayed out of 2023, so it's been pushed back, probably for the best, to be fair. I think this is a smart move. It's coming February 8th, 2024, which I think is around the same time as we're expecting Suicide Squad, if memory serves me right, whatever the hell's happened with that game.
That's not a threat.
It's not a threat. But in terms of gameplay, we did expect it would be coming to PlayStation Plus, which I think would be the best thing. This is one of Sony's first kind of efforts to be a games as a service style title with cosmetics and skins and seasonal content. But the original Titanfall, top down, really, really good. Basically Starship Troopers. Now they've elevated
Helldivers.
Titanfall, Helldivers. Because it's got the drop ships that come in with mechs and stuff. Helldivers 2, third person, a bit more like The Division meets Starship Troopers. And the game looks fun. Graphically looks great. The worlds look very diverse, as you'd imagine, for a bunch of alien planets infested with bugs. But we need to either get a really, really sweet price point or PlayStation Plus. I'm hoping they kind of remedy their decision on this, because if it hits PlayStation Plus, I think it'll have a big groundswell of interest. If they come out and say it's Sony's traditional mark is full price $69.99. If they come out with that, I think this game will take a big suffering hit for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think this is one that'll probably come out if it's a full price game, I'm expecting to be critically acclaimed, loads of people jump in, but not as many as they would hope. And it just feels like this is the perfect title for a PlayStation Plus. I know Sony very rarely do day and date to PlayStation Plus, but this is one where it just would work. So you don't keep your biggest titles like your Ghost of Tsushima's, your Spider-Man's off day and date, if that's how you want to go. Personally, I'd like them to go full Game Pass, but they're not going to. But this is one that could be really sweeten the deal with PlayStation Plus. Because it's a small title and it's games as a service. You want that audience there. You want to get the audience in and get them hooked on the game.
Yeah, it needs to capture the zeitgeist of like the general pop culture at the moment. And I think February is a great month to do it in because it's a lot quieter. The year will have fizzled away. Spider-Man will be in the rearview mirror for PlayStation. We don't know what's coming for the rest of the year either. So like PlayStation players will be hungry. And they've had success in the past with day one launches. Remember what it did for Fall Guys? That was huge. Remember what it did for Rocket League? That was huge. Stray. Yeah. That had like such a groundswell of like everybody was talking about it. And that could work for Helldivers. But on the flip side, they put out that what was the car arena game like Twisted Metal, but it wasn't.
Oh no!
That was like a PlayStation 5. It came out like 2 years ago on PS5 exclusive. But Rocket Arena something Battle Cars.
Something like that, yeah.
Basically, it's that bad I can't even remember the name. That was a PlayStation exclusive.
But that relies that's the game not being very good, not being fun.
Well, that too. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think Helldivers would really, really succeed if it went to PlayStation Plus, and maybe again, if you're aiming for games as a service, you're making money back on the in-game cosmetics. So
that's my
you
thoughts,
want more players in to then flip the balance sheet the other way based on cosmetics. That's the big win for games as a service, right?
Yeah,
so,
and I know
the game looks great though.
Very different game, but this is coming out the same month as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so I know where my money's going.
And I know, a good point.
So it coming to PlayStation Plus means I will definitely play it. If it doesn't, it's probably a pass, just because of other stuff already in the way.
I will say though, as a point of note for this, it's the first PlayStation exclusive to come to PC the same day at launch, which I think will help its numbers exponentially.
Oh,
if this is popular on PC, Steam and whatnot, and Epic.
That's even more justification for PlayStation Plus. You can get it on PC, or you can just get it as part of your PS Plus subscription. Go buy yourself a PlayStation.
Like what's happening with Starfield, right? You can have it on Game Pass, but if you want it early, you can pay £30. But if you don't have Game Pass or just want to own it, play it on Steam. And Steam's numbers are huge at the moment. So they're kind of having the cake and eating it. And I think, the PC community will fully go in and buy this for whatever price it's at. But I feel like as a PlayStation owner, I've invested in their console. I should get it either heavily discounted or part of my... Remember, just had a price hike for PlayStation Plus as well. My higher priced subscription service.
And I don't think there's been that much value. There's been a lot of value in PlayStation Plus if you look at it as a full service access to all these games. But there's nothing that's come to PlayStation Plus pretty much this year that I've went, I need to play that now.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
It's been a week for existing players.
Yeah, that being said, I've just finished Final Fantasy VII. I actually played integrated via PlayStation Plus, even though I have the disc downstairs.
You lazy sod.
Well, I just downloaded it. It was just easier to just download it rather than having to put the disc in and mess around with discs. And plus, it meant I didn't have to do the upgrade stuff for the Yuffie DLC. Anyway, baby steps, Chris. Looks hilarious.
Yeah. I don't really need to add anything more. It looks as funny as last time. Indie game.
Yeah.
Devolver Digital. Probably won't play it, but it looks fun.
Same. Last few ones we had Honkai Star Rail, which if you're playing that, more content for you. If not, okay. That's how I feel about things like Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact. You don't come to us to talk about them, so
no,
you're either into them or not. We've got more Foam Stars.
Yeah, free beta coming September 29th. Might check it out on a stream depending on how our calendar lines up. Because apparently it plays well. As ridiculous as this game is, Splatoon plays. If you don't have a Nintendo Switch, if you want maybe slightly better graphics, I guess Foam Stars is for you. Yeah,
it's very much a Splatoon ripoff. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
Splatoon effectively created a subgenre of like third person shooter, and Square Enix went, all right, we can do that, and it looks fun, very brightly coloured,
just like the new controllers.
Indeed, new controllers. Which is your favourite of the 3 new controllers, Chris? We have Volcanic Red, Cobalt Blue, and Sterling Silver.
I think I like the red. Again, it was kind of a weird one because we didn't know if in the showcase this was just like a promo for the DualSense, because you couldn't quite tell if the colours through the visuals we were seeing were the same ones that are already out, because we already have like a version of red and it's a more pinky shade. Yeah. And then we have a purple that's kind of already blue as well. And in the video, they kind of just look like more of the same, but then we got like a silver one at the end, the Sterling Silver. I don't know. The fee they charge for them. I'm a big fan of different coloured controllers, but they look a bit basic. I kind of want a bit more vibrancy out of them. Like red, blue, and silver. Is that the most you can do out of it? When my Xbox controller's sat here being all cool and funky and made by myself.
I'm still not fond of the two-tone. And it is, you get the plates as well for the PlayStation. I think this, for me, the silver looks the best. I think it works more the two-tone, where I think the blue and the red is quite jarring between the blue and the black. It just doesn't quite do it for me.
Yeah, it would be nice to have like an all color. Like my favorite one is the black one because it's just one solid color through and through.
The Spider-Man 2 controller looks amazing though. That black with the red, it does. Like that looks fantastic. But so it can be done well, but when it's just a flat color on a flat color, it's just not quite grabbing me. I'm happy enough with my white ones.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I look at my old PlayStation 4 DualShocks, and I've got some fantastic like colors in that one. But
you really do.
And they just sat there being redundant now, which is a shame. But overall, that's the showcase. Plenty of updates, got some dates, and again, it was a stealth drop. So if we didn't have that stealth drop, this week's episode would have just been talking about PS Plus.
Yeah,
so,
well,
surprise, surprise.
Talking about PS Plus, I was going to go into the Nintendo Direct now, but we'll stick on PlayStation for a bit longer. We have our PS Plus games for the middle of September. What do we have for Plus, Extra, and Premium? We have Nier Replicant version 1.2247, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read all of the numbers. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. Sid Meier's Civilization 6 for PS4. These are both, everything so far is PS4, but if it's PS4, it's PS5 as well. Star Ocean, Divine Force, PS4 and PS5. Which when they say it's I'm reading from the PlayStation blog. When they say PS5, does that mean it's enhanced for PS5? Because if it's PS4 as well, you can play any PS4 game on a PS5.
I think it means, PS5 version.
Yeah. Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2, PS4, PS5. Odin Sphere Life Racer. I completely butchered that. PS4. Unpacking.
Life Racer.
Life Racer, yeah. Unpacking, PS4, PS5. Planet Coaster Console Edition, PS4, PS5. That's probably the jump out for me so far. Although, PC game. This War of Mine, Final Cut, PS5. Cloudpunk, not to be confused with Cyberpunk, PS4. Contra Road Corps, PS4. Tales Noir, PS4, PS5. Call of the Sea, PS4, PS5. We're getting a lot of games here. West of Dead, PS4.
So how much do you regret reading this whole list now?
Yeah, Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness, PS4. Paw Patrol, the movie. Adventure City Calls, PS4, PS5. Any of them jump out to you, Chris?
No, a couple of classics at the end there as well. I feel like they're going all in on Star Ocean. They must have made a contract with that game publisher at some point to get all these.
Let us know in the comments if you've played Star Ocean and if it's worth looking into.
Absolutely. But yeah, two standout ones for me. Planet Coaster, for anyone who's played Roller Coaster Tycoon in the past, it's basically a modern version of that by the guys Frontier, who are the ones who do Jurassic World. So if you're happy with the way Jurassic World works, take out the dinosaurs and make a theme park instead. Yeah. And that's what you get. PS5 edition looks great, plays great. I've dabbled in it a little bit before. Definitely a fun one. And then the other one for me, which is actually if you don't have much time because of how busy this year has been, highly recommend Unpacking. I have the Platinum Trophy in Unpacking, and it's a great palette cleanser that takes about 2 hours to complete, where it tells a story of a young girl in a relationship. I think her relationship breaks up and she ends up moving back into her parents' house, and what it actually does is it tells you the story of her life, but every time she moves home, and all it is a simple game of you get a bunch of shit that she owns and you have to put it in the house in its particular places, Richie. So you get a bunch of boxes, you click the box to open it, unpack it, I should say, that's the name, unpack it, and then you put stuff in its place. You put lamps on desks, you put things in drawers, but everything has a particular place it needs to be, and you do that for room, and then after you finish the house, it moves on to the next part of her life, which is she moves in with a partner, she moves back home with her parents, she finds a new place, and it's got like a lovely just like Sims, Minecraft chill music in the background. Every item you put down has its very unique sound effects. So if I pick up a glass bottle and put it down a wooden surface, it will make a different noise to picking up a glass bottle and putting it down on the floor. So the sound mechanics, it got an award for, I think, sound design. Again, 2 hours, lovely palette cleanser, nice sweet story, and just super chill. So I'd say if you don't have much time, Unpacking's my pick of the week.
Yeah, I think this war of mine, I think, if I remember, this was one that came out to critical acclaim. So in this war of mine, you do not play as an elite soldier, rather as a group of civilians trying to survive in a besieged city, struggling with lack of food, medicine, and constant danger from snipers and hostile scavengers. During the day, you need to focus on maintaining your hideout, crafting, trading, and taking care of your survivors. At night, take one of your civilians on a mission to scavenge for items that will help you stay alive. I vaguely recall this coming out to getting quite a lot of critical acclaim, so that might be one that's worth jumping into, having a bit more of a look.
Again, a good list. Like, with this stuff getting added to the catalogue, this is also on top of everything else you've played, but no standout ones. Again, it's kind of a little bit back to the disappointment of they put the price up, and they've not really done anything to merit the price rise yet. We've got Civilization 6, very, very popular game, but if you've played Civilization before, it's just more of the same.
I intend to downgrade my PlayStation Plus in the coming future when my current sub is up, just because I haven't seen any benefit from premium.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling that.
I think the arguments for premium is you get access to the classics, which I haven't played any of them, and cloud, which I'm not currently really using, and they seem more full on in remote play rather than full cloud. And you get remote play through all the servers from like Essential Plus up, so I think the value is in the middle one, which I can never remember the name of, Extra. I think that's the best value one for me.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, so I intend to downgrade because, they need to bring the value. Where Game Pass on the other way around is like, everything's coming, so... Yeah. Let's talk about Game Pass. Let's talk about the Nintendo Direct. Complete bad segue.
We weren't talking about Game Pass.
I mentioned it.
Just a mention of Game Pass.
Let's segue quickly past that segue.
So we got a 40-minute Nintendo Direct. Again, stealth dropped 2 in 2 days. There was weird suspicions when Nintendo and PlayStation both said, we're doing a presentation. Your brain immediately goes, if they're doing something that they need to get the news out at the same time, what could it be? Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. It's just a convenience.
I saw one or two people with speculations, like, you're reading way too much into that. Like, Nintendo are known for, like, calling the Directs last minute. Yeah. And they like to have a moving target and when the time and dates are as well. So
keep us on our toes.
Yeah,
but we got a slew of games announced, from indie titles to typical Nintendo titles, to a couple of updates on new ones. I unlike Richie, I'm not going to fully go through and read everything from the list. I'm going to cherry pick the standout ones, the big titles. We got Mario versus Donkey Kong coming back, so Super Mario taking it to the world of Donkey Kong once again, just like the original Donkey Kong game back in the Game Boy days. February 16th to expect that one. Now, with Mario and Donkey Kong versus Donkey Kong, I should say, Richie, this looked quite interesting. It actually has quite a good 2D puzzle mechanics. It's always amazing how every single iteration of a Mario game, Nintendo managed to make them just slightly different, where they've got their own unique quirks and their qualities. Like, they're still quintessentially Mario, but there's something a little bit different, and the puzzle mechanics in this look quite fun. Like the way I think it shows you, he solves a puzzle by like releasing a creature, uses the tail to swing across to get a key to unlock a door, to eventually, my guess is at the end of the level, get to Donkey Kong. It looks fun. Nice quality finish on it.
2D side-scrolling puzzle platformer rather than just this typical Mario straight-up platformer.
Yep. And then that'll fill the gap between like bigger titles, because I think a lot of people are expecting the Switch 2 to be coming next year.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the last hurrah for it. Does very much feel like this is the last hurrah for the Switch. All these winding like last bit of titles that are still in play, and everything we're seeing is either this year or early next year. I think the latest thing was Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which is summer 2024. Yeah. But that's that's a port
Game Boy Advance game, right?
Yeah. So some of this could be cross-platform anyway. Cross-generation. So
if they're not stupid, it better be cross-platform. Like all of these games, if they like suddenly come next Christmas and not playable, that's a big mistake from Nintendo.
I think the biggest thing we've talked about this before, but the biggest thing I want from the Switch 2 is it needs to be fully backwards compatible.
Yeah,
that's it. Oh, just give me a better Switch that is fully backwards compatible. That's what I want from a Switch 2.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We got an update for Splatoon 3, new season pass coming. We got an update for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is coming to Switch in January. Looks great.
Yeah.
Super Mario RPG, we got a date, November 17th, so that's actually not too far away for the remake of Super Mario, the beloved.
I've never played it.
Apparently it's fantastic. So
I've heard good things, but I've never been deep into the lore of Mario. I've enjoyed the games, but it's not where I'm kind of full on into Zelda. In like the whole law, and I read theories and all sorts of crap with that. I've never had that same draw to Mario. I mean, I'm literally wearing a Zelda t-shirt right now. So.
He's a big Zelda fan.
Yeah.
I'm a big Tomb Raider fan, so one of the nice surprises for this one is the original 3 Tomb Raiders getting a remaster from Aspyr coming out in February, which, again, this is coming to other platforms, PlayStation and Xbox as well, but for those who have wanted to play them, they've been kind of like locked in the past. Again, video game preservation. These 3 games, I don't even think they were because I don't think they were on Xbox because of these are PlayStation 1. So this predates the Xbox generations. I don't even think there's like a backwards compatibility way. So probably only PC or emulation you're looking at. So to have those 3 original games remastered is fantastic. There has been some rumors for quite some time that the reboot of Tomb Raider will create a story using the original 3 games. My guess this is also Embracer maybe starting to squeeze some money out of the Tomb Raider IP. They acquired it, they've had it, and then again, an easy win is just to remaster something, put it together in a bundle and sell it. Games look what they've always looked like. They're fun. Everyone's going to go and buy them and lock their butler in a cupboard. But coming to Switch, February 14th. Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Very nice. I'd take Lara Croft for Valentine's Day.
Oh, any day. Well, maybe modern Lara Croft, not pixelated Lara Croft.
We've got a bunch of Amiibo announcements, but I'm not going to go into that. Just so if you're into Amiibos, go look that up. F-Zero 99, Chris, another 99 game.
Yeah, they've done well with these, taking old games,
Tetris 99,
and basically making it into a battle royale. Now, I think the battle royale craze is kind of on the wane, but if I remember, wasn't Tetris 99 like a limited run? Like it's not available anymore, right?
I can't remember. I haven't had my Nintendo subscription active for a while, so I haven't played it in ages.
I feel like it was one of them stupid Nintendo decisions where they're like, "Oh, it's only available for like 3 months," and it went.
It was longer than 3 months. I was playing for.
It might have been, yeah. But F-Zero 99, take to the F-Zero streets, and there's 99 of yous. So there's just absolute chaos using an old engine and an old art style. But I love it. I love that the fact that mix it up a bit. I
think this looks absolutely really fun. I love the retro art style when it's like last man wins basically. If you die, you have a health meter. If you die, you're out. So I like how you see the battle royale genre's on the decline. I'm not sure that's actually true. I think the niche is kind of saturated a bit with between Call of Duty Warzone and Fortnite and like Apex Legends has kind of just absorbed everything that the genre can have. But when things like F-Zero 99 come, it's a very different interpretation of what a battle royale can be. So this is more of a racing game rather than a shooter. So there's a space for that. I just think if you're making a third person shooter battle royale, you're going up against Fortnite and you're going to have a bad time of it.
Yeah.
So, but if you're doing something unique and interesting, like Tetris or F-Zero, like, okay. And especially considering this is part of your Nintendo Switch Online subscription. So,
yeah, it's more content to get people in with.
Yeah.
It's a good idea and I like it. It's a bit more creative. What else did they show off? We got a random segment about a Nintendo museum, which is like, it's so Nintendo to be like, let's just stop our video game presentation and talk about a building we've acquired and is under construction in Kyoto, Japan.
I'd love to go, actually. I think it'd be
I'd love to go. Yeah. It just seems like this isn't the right place to talk about it and showcase it. Like,
let's be fair, it's a flex.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a museum, we've got a theme park, we're Nintendo guys. We're awesome. Yeah.
Come check it out. Final construction on track, set for March 2024. Yeah. Back to Luigi's Mansion 2, though, I think this is what Nintendo have probably really benefited from, is their legacy, is looking back at beloved games and bringing them forward. And for all Luigi's Mansion 2 was a Game Boy title, I think the Luigi's Mansion 3 did that well on the Switch. It makes sense to maybe bring that franchise in line and modernise it a little bit. I don't approve really of the HD on the end, because it's like, why do you need that? You could have just
like,
called it Luigi Mansions 2 and then go from there.
Calling it HD feels like you're trapped in the past.
2010s.
Yeah.
2010 phrase.
It's when like 1080p first came out, everything was getting branded as HD.
3D TVs, mate. I have so many Blu-rays. I loathe the cover art because they basically go, oh, here's the gorgeous artwork some fantastic designer made, and then there's a 3D being added into the title, and it's always offset, it's always too big, and it just ruins the whole... I have the Hobbit trilogy on Steelbook, and literally it's the same box art they use, but they add 3D offset from the title.
Steelbook?
Yeah, and it just looks fucking stupid.
Oh, come on. If a
Steelbook, just leave it.
A Steelbook's a collector's thing. On a standard jewel case, fair enough, but on a Steelbook, you just get put only the art and nothing else.
Like, if it's 3D, just put it on the disc. I don't need to know that it's 3D.
Steelbook of Last of Us 2. Nothing.
In 3D.
Absolutely nothing apart from the artwork. That's how a Steelbook should be.
It should. Minimalistic or go with some really good art in it. But yeah, HD.
Yeah.
It's like, what, in 10 years' time, is it Luigi's Mansion 2 4K? Is that what they're going to call that one? But then again, Nintendo like to add 64 onto everything, so...
But 64 made sense.
It did.
At the time, the whole branding around the Nintendo 64 is it's the most powerful console ever. It's in 64-bit, when everything else at most was like 16. So that was where that came from, like... So that kind of made sense as it's this game, but in 64-bit now.
What if the Switch 2 is called the Switch 4K?
To be honest, I think 4K is a bit of a gimmick, to be honest. I don't think you necessarily need... It's better, but I don't think everything necessarily needs to be straight. Especially in gaming. I don't think you need to be striving for 4K in gaming, because quite often when you do, you're having to compromise elsewhere. But yeah, that'd be a terrible decision. But it's Nintendo.
You get caught up on such a tangent.
I do.
Just a quick it should be called this as a joke, and you're like, the 10 reasons Richie hates 4K and 4-star reviews.
It's not 4K I hate, it's marketing.
Yeah, we'll do a separate show for that one.
Unicorn Overlord, Chris.
What about it?
Terrible name.
Unicorn
but
Overlords.
I think there's something about this game. It's got that like HD 2D pixel arty style graphics that you get from like similar to like Octopath, but it looks more like an RPG strategy game. So I think there could be, terrible name aside, could be a good game in there.
I mean, yeah, like Octopath Travel, a terrible name, but that ended up being fantastic as well. Project Triangle, it's just one of them
Triangle
Nintendo
strategy.
Things. Yeah, it's one of them things.
Them two are both Square Enix. I love when they go, it's going to call it's Project Octopath Traveler because it's got a protagonist. We're just going to call it Octopath Traveler.
Makes sense. And in amongst all the other things, I guess they ended with the final kind of Mario Kart 8 season wave, Funky Kong and stuff coming to it. Yeah. And then we got Paper Mario, I should say, the 1000 Year Door remaster, which visually looks absolutely gorgeous. I don't really know that much about this game at all, but I've heard loads of good praise about the Paper Mario series, and it goes back to what we just spoke about with Nintendo kind of reinventing themselves all the time. With Mario, they take this IP and just like, he's a paper game, he's an RPG, he's an action game, he's a 3D game, he's a racing game, he's a fighting game. Every genre,
Mario's amazing,
they just basically have covered with one IP. It's so flexible, and they're all great. Party, they're all great. Sports, All-Stars, just
but
anything
again,
and everything.
With another like remaster of a classic title, it does kind of feel like Switch 2 has to be backwards compatible, or otherwise you put all this work into something that it's then just not going. It's just going to be dead. So I want my entire library moving forward. But what I think they're going to do is it's going to be fully backwards compatible. However, your cartridges aren't going to fit, so it'll be the digital versions only.
Nah, I don't think they'd go that far.
Really, Nintendo?
No, I think they've learned a lesson and now they're on top, I think.
No, they've never learned the lessons.
I know, the Switch 2 could end up just being like another Wii U.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway.
Looks great though, Paper Mario.
Let's move on, actually, because we're like 50 minutes into the show and we've only covered 2 stories, basically. Lies of P, Chris. It's coming out this week.
Yeah, we're hoping to stream it on this week's live stream. We're just waiting for confirmation on our work schedule so we can lock that one in. Coming to Game Pass, so you can of course play it if you've got that for practically free. and this is another Soulsborne-esque, Bloodborne-inspired game with the world of Pinocchio. And yeah, the reviews are coming in thick and fast now. Metacritic sits at around about a low 80, reviews from GameSpot, 8 out of 10. For the most part, Lies of P is content to adorn existing mechanics and ideas with its own story and aesthetic. This may be a derivative approach, but it nails the core Souls-like experience with each of its various mechanics seamlessly coalescing to create a thrilling action game that's challenging, varied, and dripping with atmosphere. IGN give it an 8 out of 10 as well. Lies of P may not branch out particularly from its Souls-like inspiration, but like a marionette controlled by a skilled puppet master, it plays the part extremely well in a wonderfully dark fantasy world. It must be said that even uneven difficulty doesn't take away from you feeling like an underdog, especially when playing as a brawny, overpowered version of Pinocchio with a massive weapon and combat pigeonholed into a very specific playstyle. I can enthusiastically recommend you spend your time hanging out with Geppetto and friends. So
yeah, but
sevens and eights. So I think it's typical of a Soulsborne-inspired game that it does all the right things, but not quite with that FromSoft polish.
Yeah, well, I played the demo. I thought the polish was absolutely fine. I think these games might seem to be unpolished because they're just gritty in their nature, in their art presentation. And in the IGN review, saying like pigeonholed into a specific play style, I think that's kind of the point of it. It's Soulsborne games where it's about mastery of the skill set you have rather than the complete freedom to play however you want. But yeah, I think it's a good game. We'll probably stream it. Just don't know when yet, or who will be streaming it. Probably either me or Rob. I think it'll be. VG247 4 out of 10 seems to be off the mark compared to the other reviewers, but again, each their own. Moving on to the Crew Motorfest, Chris. How is this stacking up with the reviews?
Well, the Crew Motorfest is one that we said kind of going into it. It looks like it's leaning very much into the Forza Horizon. So came out this week, or comes out this week, I think September 14th. Yeah, so it's out now. Leaning into that kind of sunny Hawaiian-inspired world. And I've said to you before, games are more fun in fun environments. Far Cry benefits from it, as does a bunch of other titles. It's just more fun when the environments are sunny. And Forza Horizon kind of leaned into that massively. With, I think it was like Australia, was it the last one they went to? So this being Hawaii, volcanoes, beautiful sea and sand and sunshine. It definitely does that. And yeah, it's coming out to good reviews so far. Games Radar giving it 4 out of 5. I'm seeing loads of 7s and 8s and stuff out there as well. So if you're a racing fan, if you're a Crew fan, it looks great. It looks fun. Yeah,
that's it. I think this is one of them games where it is what you expect it to be. It's the next game in the Crew series. So if you enjoy the Crew, you'll enjoy this.
Yeah, reading just a few critic reviews to add to it then. Over on Metacritic, yeah, the Crew Motorfest is undoubtedly the best entry in Ubisoft's open-world racing series yet. Not only that, but it goes toe-to-toe with the likes of Forza Horizon 5, perhaps even beating it in numerous ways. The island of Ohanu is stunning, a varied place that feels natural and teeming with things to do, but more importantly, the gameplay and the simple active racing feels fun. God is a Geek 85. Ubisoft have copied Playground Games' homework and have just made enough changes with a few spelling mistakes on the way to make this a fun and rewarding experience. So, again, if this was the Crew 3, it would have been another city, more of the Crew. The fact that they've leaned into that, just like, right, let's just not make a strict racing game and let's just have wacky fun with friends in a gorgeous environment. I think that's what Ubisoft needed to do. They've not called it, they've not given it a numbered entry, so it is just Motorfest. I think it'd be great. Looks fun.
Maybe this will be what we've always said with these style of games, where what we don't want is you don't really need numbered entries in them. What we want is just here's a platform to keep building on. Maybe this could be it.
Motorfest could be just like they have with Riders Republic. Like that should just be a platform that exists in perpetuity, and they just keep adding new sports to it, new content, new maps. New
I was reaching for Riders Republic if I couldn't remember the name. I think the Extreme Sports title is like it's that style of game where it's you can just keep adding new maps to it, add new vehicles, add new games, new season passes, all that sort of stuff. And because ultimately these are the sort of games where if I usually either in or out with them. And if you're in, you're probably just full in. You just want to keep going, keep more, and especially with it being Ubisoft, the Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah. Go have fun. You could play Riders Republic and the Crew Motorsport.
These are the great games where, if you're a massive Ubisoft fan, these are the perfect titles to kind of bridge the gaps between things like your Far Cry's and your Assassin's Creed's. Like, oh, right, well, I've got it. I'm going to play some Crew Motorfest, because we will probably stream this at some point around when Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out. Because I'm probably going to get Mirage on Ubisoft Plus. So then I'll have Crew Motorfest. So it makes sense for us to stream it at that time.
Yeah, and again, it's all about having fun rather than strict racing.
We could actually do a Lunar stream again, because it'll be something we want to play.
You're right. Shout out.
We haven't forgotten about you, Amazon. We haven't forgotten about you.
Even though you have.
Yeah. You know what we also haven't forgotten about? Mortal Kombat 1, because reviews are coming out, and Chris, is it the best Mortal Kombat 1 so far?
Since 1?
Yeah.
Since 1. Yeah, again, stellar year for video games, right? Every software developer out there is just putting out banger after banger when it comes to hits this year. And 2023 is like stacked already for fighting
well,
games.
We're eating well.
Alone. And here we are, Mortal Kombat 1 reviews. Video Games Chronicle, 5 out of 5. Mortal Kombat is the best Mortal Kombat game to date. It looks stunning, has a brilliant story mode. Its new invasion mode will keep solo players busy. And above all else, it's an absolute joy to play. Thoroughly essential for die-hard fans, lapsed fans, and newcomers alike. Is that your weekly punch the microphone moment there, Richie?
I was getting into the spirit of Mortal Kombat. I went for a fatality.
Finish him. Screen Rant, give it a 3.5 out of 5. As someone's first Mortal Kombat game, Mortal Kombat 1 is perfect, adequate, but not ideal place to start. I hope this wasn't their first Mortal Kombat game.
What? I don't know what. I do get the appeal of going, right, who hasn't played Mortal Kombat before, who's not into fighting games, you review it. But, yeah, I think you have to hit this 3.5 from the perspective of someone who probably isn't a fighting game fan.
Yeah, unless he's just petitioning his reviewers, like, if you are new to it, this is great for you, but yeah, I'd be worried if a professional company put someone who's never played a title in, like, the 15th entry or something.
Yeah.
So Screen Rant that, what else we got? IGN review in progress, and VG247 give it a 4 out of 5. Mortal Kombat 1 is a generally positive step in a new direction. I find myself frustrated with Liu Kang's decision to allow live service DNA to creep into his new universe, and I long for some of the features left behind. Mortal Kombat 1 sets the stage for a new era of MK that can't help but get pumped for. So overly positive reviews, Metacritic scores are pretty decent as well. And September the 19th, so it comes out later this week. If you're a fighting game fan, Mortal Kombat was always the one that I kind of alluded to. I know we chatted in the past couple of months when there's so many of them coming out between Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter, and the rest. But Mortal Kombat for me is kind of like my visual go-to one. It's the one I remember. And remember, everyone, it's the reason we've got video game ratings like ESRB, because this game was that brutal back in the day. I actually explained this to my wife last night because we're watching The Last of Us again, and the moment in the arcade with Ellie and Riley. And they swapped out the in-game game for Mortal Kombat in the TV show to the arcade version in particular, when they rip out the spine and everything. And I explained to her, like, this game's so significant to video game history because it basically is why we have ratings on games today. Because the government stepped in, they blamed violence on children playing Mortal Kombat.
There was a whole thing. The thing is, it was a whole thing in America. We never heard anything over here. I can't recall ever any sort of rumbling in the UK of like people going to tell it's disgusting, it's going to ruin the youth of the nations. Like, we're just like ripping spines out and having a good time.
We were too worried about coal mines and stuff back then. That's why. But Mortal Kombat, it's a key piece of video game history, and seemingly it's refreshed the franchise once again, just like a good Nintendo game does. It takes an old style, refreshes it, visually looks gorgeous. And if only we were into fighting games, Richie, we'd probably be playing it.
Yeah, I've said before, like, I think I'd like them to do a Mortal Kombat game that isn't a fighter game, because I think there's some great lore, great IP there. Because I remember the Mortal Kombat TV show, that was fantastic. The anime, I really enjoyed that.
Finish him.
So, but I'm just not into fighting games, so if you could have like an action-adventure game or an RPG or something in the Mortal Kombat world, I'd love that. But, yep. I actually do like as well that they're basically... I actually do like the calling it one, because they're leaning into, we've basically reset the universe kind of thing. Which means, like, you know how you say sometimes when with like Final Fantasy, you're never sure how to jump into it. Number thing. I think if you're into the lore of these games, not just the fighting, it's like, how do you keep track of what's going on? Who's got beef with who? Like, who's dead? Who's alive? Who's a god now? What? How?
As you do.
There's 11 games worth of story that have just muddied the waters. So to kind of go, right, clean slate, here we go, Anyway, Chris, Borderlands Studio Gearbox is up for sale by Embracer, as Embracer try to basically cut the losses.
Yeah, rumoured started this week. We know Embracer have been in trouble ever since their deal with one of the Saudi investment people backed out. They lost like a $2 billion deal sponsorship thing to make games, so they've had to basically do a massive reassessment, and they've laid people off. We know they closed Saints Row developers just a few weeks ago, and seemingly they're looking to cut the losses elsewhere by offloading some of their acquisitions, and one of them being, again, Gearbox made Borderlands. Their recent releases have been Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and the new Tales from the Borderlands game. My guess is they're hard at work on probably a Borderlands 4. Seems to be like the next logical choice for them as a publisher and a game developer. And yeah, apparently their rumours are they're up for sale. So I don't know how much you get. The report is that they're looking for about $2 billion. Not $2 billion, sorry. Where did I see the number? There was a number quoted
somewhere. It was later
somewhere.
reported by Axios that the deal in question was a £2 billion partnership with the Saudi government. Embracer purchased Gearbox in 2021 for up to 1.4 billion.
1.4 billion, that's the number I was looking for.
Although the upfront fee was far lower, so I'm guessing that's based on performance targets and stuff.
Yeah, so they're asking for about $1.5 billion, you'd imagine. I don't know if Gearbox have that much stock in as a standalone studio. Like at the time, that it's so weird. Like if you look at different acquisitions, like how much Microsoft are paying for Activision, then on the flip side, you've got Sony acquiring Insomniac for like $220 million, which I guarantee you, since they acquired Insomniac and got Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and then soon to be Spider-Man 2, Sony have made their money back and much more from that acquisition.
They do feel Gearbox does feel like a bit of a low ebb at the moment, where Borderlands was really much beloved in the 2010s, and since Borderlands 3 didn't do as... It's a good game, but I think the general consensus was Borderlands 2 was better than Borderlands 3, which is a problem for when you got 7 years between the two games.
Yeah.
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, again, seem to do okay, but never seem to get the same hype. New Tales of Borderlands just seem to be a bit of a flop compared to the original Tales for Borderlands. It just feels like they're not quite at the same height they were, and I'm not quite sure where they lean into.
Yeah. They've almost got the same problem Volition did, like you just echoed there. Saints Row was popular in the 2010s, and then they've not got away from that brand or branched out, and they've tried another thing in Agents of Mayhem, aka Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and it's, albeit that was much better received. But now what do? They do have a Borderlands movie in the works with like Kevin Hart and Jack
keeps
Black
changing
and stuff.
director.
So it's like, if I was one of the people who looked at acquiring them, I'd maybe want to see a version of the movie to see if the movie's like on track to sell. Because again, a movie can bring in a lot of money at the box office if it lands. Jack Black, Kevin Hart, that's some good names attached to it to bring in some cash.
But is it a one-off?
Well, that's it. Like, who would go see? It's Kate Blanchett's in it, right, as well, if I recall. So it's an odd one. I mean, why would you buy them just to sell them? But I guess it's just a quick bit of cash in the bank. They probably don't want to sell them, but when they're looking at their assets, it's like,
I don't know.
We can make some decent return.
Talking about it, I think potential up to 1.4 billion could be way overvalued, considering what we've just been talking about with them. And luckily, it seems for that Embracer, it seems like a lot of that is in like add-ons rather than an upfront fee, where the upfront fee is reported to be far lower according to Video Games Chronicle.
Yeah.
So is this a case of they're trying to, if they can get even like half a billion for this, and then they're going to be in net profit, and if they're looking at it and going, oh, the big titles didn't land the way we were hoping them to do, and the movie's in problems, can we just jettison this, get our money back that we've paid and move on? Like, it's almost a mission of a mistake. And especially with the Saudi deal falling through, we need the cash.
Yeah. The problem they've got is they don't have anything imminently ready to release, like Volition. So when you look at them, it's like any investment, it's going to take probably what you'd imagine another 2 or so years before we even see anything from the studio. Which is an investment. It's like, oh, so you're saying we can buy them, but we won't actually see anything for a few years yet? That's a risky investment choice when they've got nothing in the pipeline good to go. And that was Volition's problem. They wrapped up in Saints Row, it was bad. You were talking another 4 years before you got the next product, and then after Saints Row is that great. But I do think Gearbox are in a better position. But for 1.4 billion, Richie, remember Sony snapped up Bungie for 3. So would you play double for Bungie, or would you take these for 1.4?
Yeah, and bear in mind they bought like things like Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal and Square Enix Montreal for 300 million.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I'm sure they just roll a dice and just go, how much do we pay?
I think it's one of them things. When THQ Nordic first founded, they were just buying everyone left, right, and centre, and everyone was kind of looking at them going, "Okay, you're buying all this IP in these studios, and then not seemingly releasing any games." It feels like this is now coming to fall, like when they have now released some games, but they've never really done that well. There's one or two games they've kind of like done well.
Dead Island 2.
Dead Island 2, yeah. That's
Saints Row, no. SpongeBob. They've got the new SpongeBob game, Cosmic Rewind, comes out next week.
Yeah, that always does well, but you're aiming at a younger audience with that. Yeah. So, but like the big hit is, feel like they're trapped in the past. It feels like they're stuck in this between AA and AAA. And in a world where, again, the games have just moved forward and the quality is massively improved over like the last generation, it doesn't feel like Embracer are hitting that. And now they've got a lot of money in a lot of studios and like they're not producing the goods.
Yeah,
I hope they find the way, because they've got some great IP and I think they can do it. Like, but they yet to be convincing. Like when you hear games coming from Embracer, you're now starting to think, is this? The assumption is it's not as going to be as good as you hope.
So I guess the next question then is, who comes and snaps them up? Is this an Xbox acquisition? Is this a Sony one? Like, who would want let's face it, a really competent first-person shooter studio
with interesting IP, good writing? I'm going Sony. I think Sony.
I feel like it would be a good fit for Sony. They don't have first-person shooters.
Sony, you don't have many first-person shooters, and they also don't. They're trying to push hard at games as a service, and Borderlands is a games as a service.
Yeah, and they could get them on the fairly cheap, all things said and done. And I don't think Microsoft are looking to spend any more money on first-person shooter studios anytime soon. They've already got about 100.
And I could see them fitting in quite well with Microsoft, actually. But I think, so if I was Sony, I'd be interested in a deal depending on the numbers. I'm not paying 1.4 billion for them, but if you can get it for a couple of $100 million, there might be something there for the Borderlands IP. And then Sony know how to make movies as well, so they can. So the movie arm can help out. They can potentially step in to help out there. There's a classic Bungie to like coach them through how to make a games as a service incredibly popular, to help with the next Borderlands or whatever next title. Not to judge them, just to point them. So because we know PlayStation Studios do have this kind of supportive network from developer to developer. So I think that could be a good fit. Points. But I also think these could fit quite nicely into Microsoft. So. It's clearly going to be Nintendo.
Game Pass games. Yeah, probably. Or Ubisoft, maybe. EA maybe?
EA, again, I think any publisher, depending on the numbers, could work.
I just think anyone with like reasonable leadership structure, because that's the problem seemingly with Embracer, is they're just scattergun all over the place. I worry for the Tomb Raider franchise because of the way the leadership is. I worry for the Lord of the Rings rights going over to these guys.
There's a lot of potential in the Embracer group, but as I said, they haven't yet nailed it. Dead Island 2 seems to be, at the moment, one of the few games that you're pointing and go, that was better than we expected it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Embracer, man, what are they doing? Where's Time Splitters? That's an IP they've been working on for like 7 years, it feels like.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's time to split.
Shall we talk about Unity, Chris? I don't want to go too in depth for this because we're already over an hour, but we do need to mention it. Unity shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Unity, the game engine Unity, not Assassin's Creed, is often used by like smaller studios with relatively low fees to basically help people make video games. It's a game engine. And earlier this week, the firm announced that they're going to start charging for runtime fees as of January next year, and also charging for installations of the games. So basically, people who download and or play your game for a certain period of time, because you're using the Unity engine for a prolonged period or multiple downloads, they're going to start charging developers a cost for this. So basically picture it like you've I guess made your own TV show using your iPhone camera, and then Apple turn around and go, yeah, for every hour of footage that's watched using that camera, that video, or that TikTok you've uploaded, we, as the people who make the camera lens and allow you to record it, take a penny or 5 pence or what. And you think, well, hang on a minute, no, we're using your tech to make this thing. We already license your tech out. You can't just change the rules and start charging us for it.
And
but here we are.
They've very poorly explained what they're going to do. So there's a lot of conversation like, will this be applied to retroactively to games? So a game that we've released 5-10 years ago, I used to go and start charging us now for installs of that. So, which was not part of our structure. And for some small indie devs, which are typically the people using Unity, it could kill them.
Yeah, I mean, they have since clarified. So from the 30th of September, the first update was that Unity issued a statement saying that it intends being the keyword, to pass the cost onto Microsoft and other platforms for installations.
But they could just go
via subscription fees. Yeah, I mean, they've got some balls thinking they can go to Microsoft and Sony and go, yeah, we're going to start charging you for every download. And Microsoft go, hang on a minute, we have Game Pass. We expect millions of downloads. You can just suddenly turn to us and think we're going to pay a fee on top of what we already do. No chance. Microsoft yet to comment on that.
I actually understand that Unity probably do need to change their business model because of things like PlayStation Plus and because of Game Pass and these effectively people accessing games as a service, not games as a service, but rather than buying one-off titles here and there. So I do think their business model does need to be updated to kind of accommodate that, because their sales are probably down despite probably more games getting played using Unity. So that probably needs to change. But this seems to be very much a unilateral decision. And the backlash from developers, public backlash from developers, is kind of showing that they haven't been talked to their partners.
Yeah,
they haven't talked to developers. They haven't talked to Microsoft. They haven't talked to Sony. They've made the decision. Everyone's went, no, we're not about this at all.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some devs tweet out saying, like, we're stopping production using the Unity engine, because it would cost them too much to run. We've had another update another day later on the 14th. That was Unity has now doubled down on its proposed changes, issuing a lengthy explainer for its new fees. Developers continue to seek alternative toolkits, with various companies and games proposing a switch to Unreal Engine. Unity has also temporarily closed its HQ due to anonymous death threats against the company and the staff, which is a step too far. The San Francisco Police Department has since actually reported that the death threats were from a Unity employee. So, in a weird twist of fate, it wasn't just a random stranger. No, it's a bit to the extreme. But developers are very much sharing open letters asking for Unity to change course.
Yeah.
And then the last update is they've closed a few more locations due to threats. But it's way too far. These are just video games, folks. You don't need to threaten anyone or attack them or anything like that.
Regardless of how stupid the decision it is and how impactful, death threats, there's never an excuse. There's never an excuse for violence in this stuff. I do, before we move on, I do want to read one statement from a developer. There's loads like this out there, but I'm going to read this one from Megacrit, who are the developers for Slay the Spire, partly because I think the ending's quite funny. The Megacrit team has been hard at work these past 2+ years on a new game, but unlike with Slay the Spire, the engine we have been developing it in is in Unity. So Slay the Spire wasn't made in Unity. The retroactive pricing structure of runtime fees is not only harmful in a myriad of ways to developers, especially indies, is also a violation of trust. We believe Unity is fully aware of this, seeing as they have gone so far as to remove their terms of service from GitHub. So they've made what used to be publicly accessible no longer, so they're hiding it. Which makes it harder for developers who've considering Unity to get their hands on read stuff before they make the deal. Despite the immense amount of time and effort our team has already poured into development on our new title, we will be migrating to a new engine unless the changes are completely reverted and terms of service protections are put in place. We have never made a public statement before. That is how badly you fucked up.
Yeah, it's a big one from a small studio to come out, but it just shows you. And then there's like, again, a lot of these developers banding together. You've got the Among Us page, like retweeting it with like a fire emoji and stuff. You've got a lot of smaller ones getting behind it, because this is the people it impacts. The people trying to make games on a small budget and their livelihoods, and they're usually they're like the house, the mortgage, things like that come into play with this. Have you seen, the meme with Barry Allen, the Flash, where he's giving the two fingers up?
Yeah.
From when he's next to the gravestone, Oliver Queen's gravestone. The new one going around is it's Unity on the gravestone, and Barry Allen is also the Unity, because they're basically just fucking themselves over. If I was Epic, I'd be making a big play for Unreal Engine here. Just do some kind of promo that basically said anyone porting over from Unity, you get like a 30% discount or something like that, and we'll support you through the transition. But yeah, it's, again, tweaking. Like, we see this time and time again with big corporate businesses making changes for their shareholders, and they do stuff without consulting the actual people who use and pay for the service.
Yeah.
Bad all around, looks messy, looks horrible.
There's even other messy stuff, how, like, some of the like executives at Unity have sold shares and stuff before the announcement was made, and there's questions about whether it's insider trading stuff, but it's worth pointing out as well, the current Unity CEO, I think it's been there since 2014, used to be the CEO of EA, when EA were routinely voted the worst company in the world.
What are you going to do?
You hire the guy who makes a beloved company, one considered by your audience one of the worst companies in the world, and it feels like this is sort of inevitable.
Phil Harrison?
No, it wasn't Phil. I don't have the guy's name in front of me, so but we are pressed for time, so I want to move on. Chris,
Richie,
Google Chromecast, you can now stream your PS5 games to.
Yeah, pleasant update. Didn't expect this. Haven't checked it out yet because I've been busy. But I always welcome an ability to play my PlayStation games on more screens than before. And with Stadia and Google giving up on that one, I don't know if Sony behind the scenes have just... This is maybe working more in tandem towards the Portal release and getting more PlayStation things on more screens, because Xbox have been doing that for quite some time now. And Sony have been lacking in that department. So, yeah, I guess Chromecast first, and then maybe soon to be smart TVs by the end of next year.
Yeah, well, this is actually very interesting for me, because I am a fan of remote play, even though I prefer straight up cloud gaming over remote play, and I wish Sony put a bit more effort into that side. But I do use remote play, not as much as I used to, because I find remoting into my PS5 via my PS4 isn't as good as the other way around. And I have my PS4 downstairs now and my PS5 up here, because for content creation reasons more than anything. But if I want to play a PS5 game downstairs on my telly, I still have my Chromecast plugged into the back of that TV, so this could be a solution. It generally could be just the solution I need, so I probably will be checking this out. I just haven't had time yet. And plus, Starfield is consuming all my gaming, so my PlayStation 5 hasn't been switched on since the last time we streamed something on PS5.
Well,
yeah,
it's good. It's a good move. It's more
I think that
screens.
especially for us Stadians, how many of us have Chromecast Ultras, have Google TV? It's because we bought it for Stadia, and I've got a drawer full of them.
Yep. It's only the Google TV 4K one, which is the latest one.
Yeah.
But good. So, again, I hope we see it on smart TVs soon. I'll be interested to see how it works, and I'll be checking it out as soon as I get around to installing it on my Chromecast. But yeah, more screens, the better. My bet.
When's the next Sony TV announcement? Because it's usually one a year, and it probably isn't far off.
It's usually CEX, so probably January time in Vegas.
All right. So, yeah, I reckon the next generation of Sony TVs will have remote play built in.
Yeah. I'd wage that. I'd hope that, anyway.
Yeah. XDefiant failed certification, Chris.
Yeah. Ubisoft have a win with the Crew, and then they do a Ubisoft over on the other side with this upcoming free-to-play shooter, formerly Tom Clancy's XDefiant. Has been delayed. The title failed to pass certification on both PlayStation and Xbox this past week, which... The way the certification works is, of course, the Ubisoft have to publish the game, and if there's anything that's picked out by Sony's kind of accreditation boards, they can go, oh, actually, it had violence when you didn't say it had violence, it had excessive blood when you told us it didn't have blood. Anything like that can basically put a kibosh on a launch of a video game title, and Ubisoft usually, company producers, publishers have to kind of submit these versions very, very early doors to get them through for launch. And apparently this game had some compliance bugs that were picked out during interactions on each version of the game, which means they're both pushed back, which generally means it's been delayed while Ubisoft have to go and put in some bug fixes to essentially rectify the mistake. So the game's obviously finished. It just clearly seems that whatever they published to the relevant teams for certification didn't tick those boxes.
Yeah. Basically, I think there seems to be ways of fixing this, and I think they're still targeting early October for this, potentially.
Yeah, should have been out in August, though.
Yeah, it should have been out in August. So this might just be there's a few overlooked boxes that haven't been ticked. But it's still, for a company with the experience of Ubisoft, it's not great, really. A game that's kind of, well, everyone's looking at it and going, it looks like Call of Duty, but not quite as good. And I don't know. I think there's a game in there, but it doesn't fill you with confidence.
There is a game in there. Just like there's a dog in your neighbourhood.
Yes, there is, yeah.
But yeah, again, game development very, very all over the place with it. It's no reflection on like the quality of the game. It just means there might be like one or two intricate details that don't pass for whatever reason, whatever they may be. But seemingly Ubisoft know what they're doing. They'll get back onto it, they'll fix it, and it'll be good to go in the weeks ahead, most likely.
Yeah, Chris, why I got Silence this Dog, and you talking about Immortals of Aveum?
When you say silence the dog, I hope you're going to kill the dog.
It's me with the mic.
Good. Yeah, Immortals of Aveum, probably one of our last stories of the week. Studios laid off 45% of their staff following poor sales, which it's a big shame. I feel like Ascendant Studios, it was published by EA. It was one of EA's kind of originals titles that they picked up on. They've announced that 45% of the team have been let go as a painfully difficult but necessary decision, and it was not made lightly. Reports from Polygon basically say that it was poor sales that led to this key decision. Nevertheless, they need to make adjustments now that the game is shipped. They're proud of what they've developed, they've accomplished. It's a AAA game on a new IP, a new technology, and a new era for the industry, which is extremely rare, but this is where we are. They've all been given comprehensive severance package and job replacement assistance, so hopefully they can find a job. Unfortunately, Aveum at Steam, its peak was 751 concurrent players. Reviews were mixed, but from what I've heard, is the game actually it's not a bad game. It just came out in probably the worst year it possibly could have tried to launch a new IP, kind of similar to Forspoken. I don't think Forspoken at the beginning of the year was a bad game. It just came out in a phase when everybody's eyes and attention was drawn to other bigger, popular legacy IP. It's quite a competent shooter, even though it's not a shooter. The story, the world, the voice acting is apparently all AAA, which is what they went for. And it's just, I guess, the cutthroat nature of the world. If this game came out in a quieter year, with maybe a bigger marketing push, it might have landed quite well, but I feel like it's suffered, just like if we think back in there, like Titanfall 2, one of the best shooters of all time, suffered because it came out sandwiched between other games similar to it. And if you're going to drop in a year when you've got Zelda, Diablo, Spider-Man, Baldur's Gate, all of those huge hitters, Starfield, if you're not a definitively like designed, set up for success IP, I think that, along with a lot of titles this year, are going to fall by the wayside, unfortunately, and this is one. And like they said, budget cuts, it needs to happen. Need to streamline the studio in line for whatever the next project is. Otherwise, the studio might not exist. And I just hope this game wasn't made on Unity, because that would have cost them even more.
It was Unreal 5. I've got the wiki up in front of me. It just seems to be one of them. It came out on August the 22nd. I didn't even realise it actually came out. It just seems to came out and there was nothing around it. From all the different outlets and stuff I watch on YouTube, I never saw anyone talk about this game. No one seems to have done like a review or deep dive or even a let's play. I just saw it just seemed to just.
And do you know why? Because all of those influencers were busy playing all the other games that come out, and naturally they are going to gravitate towards the bigger titles, just like we would on our channel. I am not going to play this if we've got live streams of Starfield going up.
Yeah, and I don't believe this was on PlayStation Plus or Game Pass, which makes it. For people like us who have to buy all of our games, we don't get review copies. It makes us less enticing to drop. Not very often.
Rarely.
But I'm not going to drop 70 quid in a game that I'm not interested in playing, even for content reasons, because we're not going to make that money back on any videos we do on it. So that's just the reality of our channel. But yeah.
50 quid on Amazon.
Yeah. I think it's a shame, because if there's a really good game in there, because of what the other stuff around it, it might just be one of them forgotten gems.
It seems like it. Hopefully, it'll get like a bit of a cult following or maybe something extra. But
Yeah,
IGN give it an 8 out of 10, which is one more than Starfield.
Yeah, I hope next year it drops on PlayStation Plus or something in a bit of a quiet period, and a lot of people try and go, "Oh, actually, why didn't we play this last year?"
Yeah, like Titanfall.
Yeah. Let's finish off by talking about a credit card. For Microsoft
what a way to end the show.
Microsoft are bringing out an Xbox credit card, so we're not going to give any actual financial advice here. I don't want to get us in trouble, but
credit card, you got it.
The base. Can you talk about
this
dog?
Let's just talk about this dog first of all. Where is the dog at? What is it doing? Is it a big Immortals of Aveum fan?
Clearly not.
Is it just a neighbour's dog, I take it?
It's just a neighbour's dog, and I have no idea
if we acknowledge the dog, it becomes funny. If we ignore its presence in the background, it just wants to be on the podcast. It heard Rob was missing this week. It wants a seat at the table. Let it talk. Talking dogs. You're actually going to open the window and let it talk. Is it angry? What did you do to piss off the dog?
I can't see it, and I just actually wheeled my chair into my piano.
It does sound like a small dog, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's small.
Either way,
it's a small dog. It's just one of my neighbours.
The dog's your neighbour. Either way, the dog won't be getting an Xbox MasterCard, that's for sure. The company announced today that the card has no annual fee, will be exclusive to Xbox insiders, only in the USA and Hawaii and Alaska at the moment. According to Xbox Wire, cardholders can earn points for every dollar that they spend on purchases that will be eligible in the Microsoft Store. And cardholders get 5 times the amount of points, while streaming services like Netflix and Disney will dish out 3 times as many points. So it's got a reward scheme baked into Xbox at the same time. Several other benefits like 5,000 card points bonus and 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate for new members after the cardholder's first purchase. It's essentially going to be an Xbox card. I've noticed, I think the card might particularly come with your gamer tag on it, like embossed into the card, which could be quite cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a credit card, it's branded. We've seen this time and time again over the years.
I can see a benefit if you're like a big Microsoft fan and you're going to put things like your Netflix and other subscription on there, using them points to pay for Game Pass. Theoretically, they could almost get Game Pass for quote-unquote free. But this is one of the things you just need to look into yourself if you're in the US and Xbox Insider.
Because that's how you do your finances, right? You kind of put everything on a credit card and pay it off?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Depends how much cash I've got in the bank. And right at the moment, I don't have much cash in the bank because holidays and mortgage and adult stuff. Fun holidays, boring adult stuff meant I'm pretty cash light. So that's why I tend to put things on my credit card because I know I'm actually going to spend more this month than I've got in the bank.
Yeah.
But then that balance usually goes down. And then when I'm in a better financial position, then I tend to pay for more on my card. You'll probably see sometimes on a night out, I'll be using my debit card. Halfway through the night, I switch.
Switch to the credit card. I've drank too much. I've bought too many rounds. Yeah, I get that. I'm kind of the same. I'm so skint this month. I was like, because FIFA comes out on the 29th, or EA Sports FC, and I was like, that's not quite payday yet. But
see, that's a definite credit card purchase for me because I know I'm going to play that for an entire year. So it's worth the money. So I'll just put it on my credit card.
Yeah.
So I can get it.
I almost went to cancel my pre-order before I remembered. Thankfully, my colleagues for my birthday the other week got me like £50 Amazon voucher. So I was like, that'll pay for the bulk of the game. So I left the pre-order in place. But EA Sports FC 2 weeks, and the new FIFA, or formerly known as FIFA, is out. But I tell you what, Rich, you will be able to buy more games, play more games here on the channel if you wonderful folks out there join as a member of the channel from as little as 99p. You can get access to this very show early, stickers and badges next to your name, next to the chat. But more importantly, Richie, we encourage you to maybe jump up a tier. We've never really asked that, but if you want more, if you want us to play more games like Immortals of Aveum, we might buy it, we might purchase it, we might play it. But evidently we have no money in our lives, even though we both have pretty decent jobs, and that's the state of society right now. And as gamers, it's not a cheap hobby. I almost had to buy a new camera this week because of technology reasons. But we do appreciate all of our you spending your money on lavish gifts like mugs. So check out the merch store, consider upping, maybe even just for a month, if you've liked all the content that we do, if you like the live streams, if you want to see more retro stuff. Maybe jump up from that 99p tier, although we do appreciate everyone who is there. And Richie, no more credit card talk.
No more credit card talk. Shall we very quickly talk about this week in video game history, Chris? Just to round out the show.
Let's do that.
Some interesting stuff came out on September the 16th, which is the day we're recording this. Kingdom Hearts, PS2.
Oh.
Star Wars, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy came out today, 20 years ago. That game was amazing.
Jedi. On Mac and PC.
Yeah.
What a day.
The Simpsons Hit and Run, another classic.
Now, that's one that needs a remaster. I'm sure it's stuck in licensing hell, but there's like fan versions made in Unreal. And Simpsons Hit and Run was such a sign of the times, but I played so many hours of that game. Like I knew, I guess we all knew the map like the back of our hand from the TV show to start with.
Yeah, I never owned the game, but played a lot of it.
This was like, it was one of those games where it kind of like rejuvenated the cartoon games. I think off the back of that, we got a Futurama game, we got a Family Guy game, and it was kind of a whole renaissance of tie-in TV cartoon games. South Park.
It was around the peak of The Simpsons. I mean, Simpsons has never went away, but I think that was kind of the peak era of it.
Yeah, I mean, Simpsons has been gone since '89, so 20
Yeah,
years ago, though. 2003, it is, yeah.
One for Rob, the first Mountain Blade, came out 15 years ago in 2008. And
1 year ago, Warlong Fallen Dynasty.
Yeah.
So now 365 days have passed, Richie.
And no years ago, Liza P.
No years ago, this year.
Richie did it. Yeah.
Warlong Fallen, that can't be right. Fallen Dynasty.
In Japan.
That can't be right. That can't be.
That might be just the Japanese
I didn't realise it
release.
got an earlier release. Oh well, Beach Buggy Racing. Shout out to that on iOS and Android.
Yeah.
Quite a quiet day in the history of video games,
But some
all things said and done.
Quite quiet day, but some absolute bangers in there.
Yeah, first Kingdom Hearts.
I'd rather have less better games than more good games, so I think this is a good day. It's a good day to have your game release on.
It's a good day, and it's a good day to like, subscribe, and share.
Indeed, because that's all we have time for you this week. So, as Chris said, like, subscribe, share with your friends, ring the bell so you're kept in the loop of all of great content here at GamerGuildTV, which is where we're at everywhere in socials. Links are all in the description for you. Go wherever you want. If you want a mug like mine, which makes your coffee taste better, as claimed by me, the person who directly financially benefits from the sales of these mugs. Please head to our store, stick on your Xbox credit card. We won't get any extra points for it. We do not have the power to do that, unfortunately. And all the descriptions for everything you need. And tune in probably Friday for our Liza P stream. And with that, I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Thank you very much for watching. GG everyone. Goodbye.
Woof, woof.